The couple things happen to us, and I'm going to speak to some of you who are here, and you would fall more on there. Some of you are here, and you hear the word repent, and you just feel condemned and shamed. I'm going to talk to you in just a minute. You feel condemned and shamed, and like you've done so much, you'll never be forgiven. And there are other folks over here, and you're like, well, I'm not as bad as them. You've grown up in the church, you've been good, you've got a lot of good behaviors, you're just a really good person, and you look at other people with a little bit of disdain because they're not like you. They, if they were a better Christian, if they had more faith, they wouldn't struggle the way they do. So we sort of have this sense, and what happens to us, and I put myself in this category because this has been my struggle for a long time, is two things happen. Number one is I get a little smug in my resistance because I tend to not be tempted by the same things you're tempted by. I get a little smug in that. I'm like, well, if you had more faith, you wouldn't be as tempted as I am. I mean, you would be able to resist it better than you can. I don't know if you've ever felt like that or looked at someone, you don't understand why they struggle with what they struggle with. And it's because we become a little smug in that. And then the worst thing that happens, and you sort of fall into this pattern, is you start to become entitled. You start to sort of believe that you get smug in your resistance, but you become deserving in your indulgence. You have these little pet sins that you keep on a leash, and because they don't hurt anybody or bother anybody, you just kind of use them as a way to escape, and you actually start to justify, well, I'm so good in all these other areas, surely I can indulge in this. And it becomes means of escape, or it becomes lots of other things. And when you think of his behavior, you can certainly justify it because you put on this big scale. Look at all the things I haven't done. I just do this little bitty thing. When you think about authority, it's about not stewarding your mind, or not stewarding your eyes, or not stewarding your mouth, or not stewarding your money, or not stewarding any number of things that God has given you authority over. And that's the reason we have to think of it this way. And what he requires of us is to repent, not to stop doing particular behaviors, but to return to a way and a rule in which we have been designed and created to live.